Maya Redhorse had been driving for 3 days and her eyes burned from exhaustion. She left New Mexico behind with nothing but a truck full of clothes and the weight of memories she wanted to forget. The reservation had been her home for 26 years, but after her grandfather died there was nothing left for her there. He had been the last thread connecting her to that place, and when he passed, something inside her broke. She needed silence and distance from everything and everyone she had ever known. The lawyer's letter came 2 weeks after the funeral. An aunt she barely remembered had left her a cabin by Henderson Lake in the northern woods. Maya had only met Aunt Claire once when she was 7 years old. The woman had seemed strange back then, with her quiet ways and her habit of staring at the sky like she was searching for something. Now Claire was gone too, and Maya inherited a place she had never seen. The dirt road leading to the cabin was overgrown with weeds. Branches scraped against the truck's sides as Maya drove deeper into the woods. When she finally reached the clearing, her breath caught in her throat. The cabin was small and weathered, but it sat right on the lake's edge with a view that made her chest tighten. The water was so still it looked like glass. Trees surrounded the lake on all sides, creating a bowl of green that seemed to hold the world at bay. Maya stepped out of the truck and breathed in the cool air. It smelled like pine and earth and water. No sounds of traffic or voices or the constant noise that had filled her life before, just wind moving through leaves and the occasional bird call. This was what she needed. This emptiness. This quiet. As she unloaded her belongings, Maya noticed the bridge. It stretched from the shore to a small island in the middle of the lake. The structure was old, with thick wooden beams that had turned gray from years of weather. Something about it made her pause. The bridge looked solid enough, but there was something odd about the way it sat on the water. The proportions seemed wrong somehow, though she could not explain why. She shook off the feeling and carried her boxes inside. The cabin was dusty, but in better shape than she expected. One main room served as kitchen and living space. A small bedroom sat in the back, and a tiny bathroom completed the layout. Everything was simple and basic. No television or internet connection. Just oil lamps and a wood stove and silence. That first night, Maya sat on the porch and watched darkness fall over the lake. The stars came out brighter than she had ever seen them. Living in cities and towns her whole life, she had forgotten how many stars actually existed. Her grandfather used to tell her stories about the sky people who came from those stars long ago. He said they taught the ancestors important things and promised to return one day. Maya had always thought they were just stories. Old legends passed down to children. She went to bed exhausted, but sleep would not come easily. The cabin creaked and settled around her. Outside, an owl called, and in her half-dreaming state, Maya saw things that made no sense. Stars that pulsed with colors that should not exist. Symbols that burned themselves into her mind even though she had never seen them before. Voices speaking in languages she did not know yet somehow understood every word. She woke up gasping with her heart pounding. Sunlight streamed through the window. Morning had come and the strange dreams faded like smoke. Maya told herself it was just stress and exhaustion. Her mind playing tricks after everything she had been through. Nothing more than that. The next few weeks fell into a peaceful routine. Maya spent her days fixing up the cabin and exploring the shoreline. She fished in the mornings and read books in the afternoons. The nearest town was 15 miles away, and she drove there once a week for supplies. The locals were friendly enough but seemed curious about her. They asked careful questions about why she had come to Henderson Lake. Maya kept her answers brief. She was here to get away from things. She needed time alone. The cabin belonged to her aunt. Most people nodded and left it at that. But she noticed something odd. Whenever she mentioned the bridge or the island, people's faces would change. They would look away or change the subject. One old man named George Patterson, who ran the general store, actually stopped mid-sentence when she asked about the island. "Nothing out there worth seeing," he said quickly. "Bridge is old and dangerous. Best to stay off it." Maya found that strange. The bridge looked sturdy, and she had walked halfway across it once without any problems. Why would everyone in town warn her away from it? What were they not telling her? Her curiosity grew stronger each day. She would stand on the shore and stare at the bridge, wondering what secret it held. The island itself looked ordinary, just trees and bushes and rocks like any other piece of land. But something pulled at her, a feeling she could not name, like a whisper at the edge of hearing that she could not quite make out. 3 weeks after arriving, Maya made her decision. She would explore the island and see what was there. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe the locals were just superstitious about an old bridge and an empty piece of land, or maybe there was something more. Either way, she needed to know. She woke early on a cool morning when mist still clung to the lake's surface. Maya dressed in jeans and boots and a warm jacket. She grabbed a flashlight and her grandfather's old hunting knife more out of habit than any real concern. Then she walked down to the shore and stepped onto the bridge. The wood felt warm under her boots. That struck her as odd because the air was cool and the sun had barely risen. Maya paused and knelt down to touch the planks with her hand. They were definitely warm, almost like they were generating their own heat. She stood up slowly and looked around. Everything seemed normal. The lake, the trees, the island ahead. But that warmth beneath her feet felt wrong. She kept walking and reached the middle of the bridge. That was when she saw them. Beneath the water's surface, patterns glowed faintly. Geometric shapes too perfect to be natural. They looked like circuits or diagrams, but made from something that pulsed with soft blue light. Maya's heart began to race. Maya stood frozen on the bridge, staring down at the glowing patterns beneath the water. Her rational mind told her to leave, to go back to the cabin and forget what she had seen. But something deeper kept her feet planted on the warm wooden planks. The patterns seemed to pulse in a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. That should have terrified her, but instead it felt almost familiar. She forced herself to keep moving toward the island. Each step made the warmth beneath her boots grow stronger. By the time she reached the end of the bridge, her feet felt like they were walking on heated stone. Maya stepped onto the island and the sensation faded immediately. The ground here was normal. Cool earth and fallen leaves and moss-covered rocks. The island was not large, maybe 100 yards across at its widest point. Trees grew thick here, blocking out most of the morning light. Maya moved carefully through the undergrowth, searching for anything unusual. At first she found nothing. Just an ordinary patch of land that happened to sit in the middle of a lake. Then she saw the bushes. They grew in a perfect circle around a flat area near the island's center. That was the first thing that caught her attention. Nature did not work in perfect circles. She pushed through the branches and stumbled into the clearing. Her breath left her lungs in a rush. There in the ground was a hatch, but not like any hatch she had ever seen. The metal was smooth and dark like brushed titanium. No rust, no weathering. It looked like it had been installed yesterday, even though the trees around it were clearly decades old. The surface was covered in symbols that made her head hurt when she looked at them too long. Maya knelt beside the hatch and ran her fingers over the symbols. They were carved or etched into the metal with perfect precision. Most of them meant nothing to her. Strange geometric shapes and flowing lines that could have been writing in some unknown language. But one symbol made her freeze. She knew this one. Her grandfather had shown her the same marking in the caves back home. He said it was left by the sky people, the ancient ones who came from the stars. Her hand moved toward the hatch almost on its own. Some part of her knew she should not touch it, should not open whatever lay beneath. But Maya could not stop herself. The moment her fingers made contact with the central symbol, the hatch began to open. No sound came from the mechanism. No grinding of gears or hiss of hydraulics. The hatch simply split down the middle and the two halves slid apart, revealing stairs that descended into darkness. Blue light flickered along the walls, casting strange shadows. Maya's mouth went dry. Every instinct screamed at her to run. This was not natural. This was not possible. Hatches did not open themselves. Ancient technology did not exist hidden under islands and forgotten lakes. But she thought of her grandfather's stories. The sky people, the promises they made to return, the knowledge they left behind for those who would find it. What if the stories were not just legends? What if they were warnings? Or instructions? Maya pulled out her flashlight, though she did not really need it. The blue strips along the walls provided enough light to see. She began to descend the stairs. Each step felt like a choice. Keep going or turn back. Learn the truth or stay ignorant. She chose to keep going. The stairs went down much farther than should have been possible. The island was small and the lake was not deep. Yet Maya counted over 50 steps before she reached the bottom. When she did, her jaw dropped open. The chamber was vast, far larger than the entire island above. The ceiling rose at least 30 feet overhead. The walls were lined with technology that looked like nothing from Earth. Screens or panels glowed with soft light. Strange devices hummed quietly, and in the center of the room stood a cylinder about 8 feet tall, covered in the same symbols from the hatch. Maya walked forward slowly. Her footsteps echoed in the huge space. As she moved, the panels on the walls began to light up more brightly. Images appeared on some of them. Star maps, diagrams, things she could not identify. It was like the room was waking up because she was there. Then a voice spoke and Maya nearly dropped her flashlight. "Welcome, daughter of the people," it said in perfect Apache. "We have waited so long for your arrival." Maya spun around searching for the source of the voice but saw no one. Her hand went to the knife on her belt. "Who are you? Show yourself." "We are the keepers," the voice replied. "We are the watchers. We have walked among your ancestors and many others across the stars. Do not be afraid, Maya Red Horse. You are safe here." "How do you know my name?" Maya demanded. Her voice sounded small in the huge chamber. "We know many things. We have known your family line for 3,000 years. Your grandfather spoke of us. He called us the Sky People. That is close enough to the truth." A hologram appeared in front of Maya, making her jump back. It showed Earth from space. Then the image pulled back, showing the moon and the sun and the other planets. It kept pulling back until the entire solar system was visible. Then the galaxy, then thousands of galaxies, and in the darkness between them something moved. Something massive and dark and hungry. "What is that?" Maya whispered. "They are called the Devourers," the voice said. "They consume worlds. They strip civilizations clean and move on. They have destroyed 10,000 species across 2 million years. They will reach Earth in 50 years unless your people prepare." Maya felt her knees go weak. She sat down hard on the floor, staring at the hologram. This cannot be real. This has to be some kind of joke or hallucination or something. "It is real," the voice said gently. "As real as the ground beneath you. As real as the blood in your veins. Your Aunt Claire was the previous guardian of this facility. She kept it secret her whole life, waiting for you to come. She knew you would. It is in your blood. In your DNA, you were born to find this place." "Guardian," Maya repeated. "What does that mean?" "This facility is one of 47 hidden across Earth. Each contains technology and knowledge needed to defend your planet. Each requires a guardian to activate and maintain it. Your aunt could not activate it fully because she did not have children. The genetic markers pass through direct bloodlines. But you are young and strong. You can activate everything here." Maya stood up on shaky legs. She looked around the chamber, seeing it with new eyes. This was not just some abandoned alien base. This was a weapons facility, a command center, a gift and a burden left by beings who had fought the Devourers before. "What if I say no?" she asked quietly. "What if I just leave and never come back?" "Then the facility remains dormant," the voice replied. "The network stays incomplete. Earth's defenses stay weak, and when the Devourers arrive, your species will likely perish. But the choice is yours, Maya Red Horse. We do not force anyone to become a guardian. That must be a willing decision." Maya closed her eyes. She thought of her grandfather and his stories. She thought of Aunt Claire living here alone, keeping this terrible secret. She thought of the billions of people on Earth who had no idea what was coming for them. And she thought of the quiet lake and the peace she had found here. That peace was a lie. There was no escaping what was coming. No hiding from it. She opened her eyes and looked at the cylinder in the center of the room. "If I become this guardian, if I activate this place, what happens then? Then you will be trained. You will learn to use the technology here. You will connect with the other guardians as they awaken, and together you will prepare Earth for the war that is coming." Maya took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Then she walked forward and placed her hand on the cylinder. The moment Maya's palm touched the cylinder, everything changed. Light exploded through the chamber so bright she had to close her eyes. Energy surged up her arm and spread through her whole body. It did not hurt exactly, but it was overwhelming. Like every nerve ending was suddenly awake and screaming for attention. She tried to pull her hand away but could not move. The cylinder held her in place. Information poured into her mind. Not in words or pictures, but in pure knowledge. She understood things she had never learned. Mathematical formulas, star charts, weapon systems, languages from a dozen different worlds. It was too much. Her brain felt like it was going to split apart from the pressure. Maya opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Then just as suddenly as it started, the process stopped. Maya collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. Her whole body trembled. Sweat soaked through her clothes. For several minutes she just lay there trying to remember how to breathe normally. Slowly, the world came back into focus. The chamber looked different now. She could read the symbols on the walls. She understood what each device did. The panels showed status reports and energy levels and defensive parameters. All of it made sense in a way that terrified her. How could she know these things? How could any of this be in her head? The initial activation is always difficult, the voice said. It sounded almost apologetic. Your mind now contains the basic knowledge needed to operate this facility. More detailed training will come gradually. You will not have to endure that again. Maya pushed herself up to sitting. Her arms shook with the effort. What did you do to me? We gave you the foundation, the voice replied. Think of it as learning to read. Once you know the alphabet and basic words, you can build from there. You now have the alphabet of the keepers. The rest you will learn through practice and study. She wanted to be angry, but mostly she just felt exhausted. Maya looked around the chamber again, taking in details she had missed before. The technology was not just advanced. It was beautiful. Elegant designs that merged function with artistry. Nothing was wasted. Everything had purpose. She could see that now with her enhanced understanding. Show me the other guardians, Maya said. Her voice was hoarse. You said there were 47 facilities. Are they all active? No, the voice replied. A new hologram appeared showing a map of Earth. Glowing points marked locations across every continent. Only 7 of them pulsed with bright light. 7 have activated, including yours. The others remain dormant, waiting for their guardians to find them. Can I talk to them? The other guardians. Yes, would you like to establish communication now? Maya nodded. She needed to know she was not alone in this. That other people had made the same impossible choice she just made. A panel on the wall came to life showing 6 faces. They all looked as shocked and overwhelmed as Maya felt. The first person to speak was a man in his 30s with dark hair and tired eyes. Hi, I'm Connor Hayes from Boston. Former Marine. I activated my facility 3 weeks ago and I still feel like I am losing my mind. A woman with short black hair spoke next. Lisa Wong, Singapore. I am a software engineer, or I was before all this. Activated 5 days ago. The others introduced themselves one by one. Paulo Ramirez from Argentina, Kim Foster from South Korea, James Chen from Australia, and Susan Lane from Canada. All of them had stumbled onto facilities hidden in remote locations. All of them had made the choice to activate. They talked for over an hour, sharing their experiences and fears. Connor had military training, which gave him some context for what they were facing. Lisa's technical background helped her understand the systems faster than most. Paulo was a ranch hand who freely admitted he had no idea what he was doing, but was trying his best. They were all just ordinary people thrust into an extraordinary situation. So what now? Susan asked. She was the youngest at 23. We have these facilities and this knowledge, but what are we supposed to do with it? We prepare, Maya said. The words came out with more confidence than she felt. The Devourers are coming in 50 years. That sounds like a long time, but we need to build defenses. Train people. Get Earth ready for a war most people do not even know is coming. How do we do that without causing mass panic? James asked. We cannot exactly go on television and announce that aliens are going to attack in 2075. That was the question none of them could answer. They talked through various scenarios, but nothing seemed workable. Tell the truth too early and society might collapse. Wait too long and they would not have time to prepare adequately. It was an impossible balance. We start small, Connor finally said. We use these facilities to build what we can. Train ourselves first, then carefully reach out to military and government contacts we trust. Build a network of people who can handle the truth. Do it quietly. It made sense, but Maya felt the weight of it. Years of secrecy. Years of living a double life. Years of preparing for something that might destroy everything she knew. She thought about the quiet lake and how peaceful her first few weeks had been. That peace was gone forever now. The meeting broke up with promises to communicate regularly. Maya stood alone in the chamber for a long time after the others disconnected. The voice of the keepers remained quiet, giving her time to process. Finally, she spoke. Why did you choose Earth? Out of all the planets in the galaxy, why leave facilities here? Because humanity shows promise, the voice replied. Your species is young and violent and often foolish, but you are also resilient and creative and capable of great unity when faced with a common threat. The Keepers have watched many species face the Devourers. Some fought with courage, some surrendered without a battle, and some, like humans, did not yet know the threat existed. We chose to give you a chance, and if we fail, if the Devourers come and we cannot stop them, then Earth will fall like so many worlds before it. But we do not believe you will fail, Maya Redhorse. Your people have survived ice ages and plagues and wars that should have ended them. You adapt. You overcome. That is why we have faith in humanity. Maya wanted to believe that. She wanted to think the keepers were right about her species. But she had seen enough of human nature to know it was not that simple. People could be petty and cruel. They fought over resources and beliefs and pride. Getting everyone to work together against an alien threat seemed impossible. But then she thought of her grandfather again. He used to say that the people survived because they remembered who they were. They kept their stories alive. They held on to their identity, even when the world tried to erase them. Maybe that was what humanity needed, to remember who they were, to find that common identity that transcended nations and religions and politics. She had no idea if it would work. No idea if they could pull off the impossible task ahead of them. But she had made her choice. She was a guardian now, and she would do everything in her power to protect her world. Maya climbed the stairs back to the surface. The hatch closed silently behind her. The island looked exactly the same as when she arrived, but everything had changed. She crossed the bridge and returned to the cabin. Night had fallen while she was underground. The stars blazed overhead. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her memory. The sky people will return when the people need them most. He had been right. They had returned, not in person, but in the legacy they left behind. And now it was up to Maya and the other guardians to make sure that legacy was enough to save Earth from extinction. Sleep did not come easily that night. Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling while her mind raced. The knowledge the keepers had given her was still settling into place. Sometimes she would suddenly understand something new. A concept about energy distribution or defensive positioning. Other times she would see star systems in her mind and know their names and what species had lived there before the devourers came. She got up before dawn and made coffee. The cabin felt smaller now, like it was a costume she had put on pretending to be someone who just wanted a quiet life by a lake. That person was gone. Maybe she had never really existed. Maya took her coffee out to the porch and watched the sun rise over the water. The bridge looked innocent in the morning light. Just old wood and weathered beams, no hint of the advanced technology hidden beneath. No sign of the chamber that waited under the island. That was by design, of course. The keepers had built their facilities to blend in, to wait unnoticed until the right people found them. Maya spent the next week learning to use the facility properly. She would go down each morning and work through the training programs. The systems taught her how to operate weapons that could level mountains, how to coordinate defensive networks across continents, how to read sensor data showing activity in deep space. It was overwhelming, but she forced herself to keep going. The other guardians checked in daily. Their video meetings became a lifeline. Connor was making good progress training with the military simulations. Lisa had figured out how to interface the alien technology with Earth's computer systems. Paulo struggled with the technical aspects, but his practical wisdom often cut through complicated problems with simple solutions. 2 more facilities activated during that week. One in Norway operated by a doctor named Helen Berg. Another in Japan operated by a teacher named Kenji Sato. Both were as shocked and uncertain as the rest had been. The group welcomed them and shared what they had learned. 9 guardians now. 38 facilities still waiting. On the 8th day, Maya decided to return to town for supplies.
She needed to maintain her cover as a normal person living a quiet life.
The drive gave her time to think. How long could they keep this secret? How long before someone noticed the strange energy readings or unexplained activity around the facilities? Connor had mentioned that his Marine contacts were starting to ask questions. George Patterson was behind the counter at the general store when Maya walked in. The old man smiled at her, but his eyes held a knowing look that made her uncomfortable. She gathered what she needed and brought everything to the register. As George rang up her items, he spoke quietly. "You went to the island," he said. It was not a question. Maya's hand tightened on her basket. "I do not know what you mean." "Yes, you do." George stopped scanning and looked directly at her. "I knew your Aunt Claire. She told me what was out there, made me promise to keep people away from it, to protect the secret until the right person came along." "Did she tell you everything?" Maya asked carefully. "Enough. She said something bad was coming. Something from the stars, and that the island held the key to stopping it." George resumed scanning her items. "I did not believe her at first. Thought she was just a crazy old woman. But I saw things over the years. Strange lights at night. The way animals avoided that part of the lake, and the way Claire never seemed to age much. She looked the same at 70 as she did at 50. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying? The technology down there. It can do things. Extend life. Heal injuries? Claire used it sparingly, but she used it. She wanted to make sure she lived long enough for you to arrive. George finished with her items and quoted a price. As Maya paid, he continued. She talked about you sometimes. Said you were the one, that you had the right bloodline, the right spirit. Why are you telling me this now? Because you are going to need allies, George said. Claire worked alone for 40 years. She kept that secret locked up tight, and it nearly killed her from the loneliness of it. You do not have to make the same mistake. There are people in this town who know bits and pieces. People who can be trusted. Let us help. Maya wanted to refuse. Wanted to keep everything compartmentalized and safe. But George was right. She could not do this alone. None of the Guardians could. They needed people on the ground. People who could provide cover and support and help maintain the secret. I will think about it, Maya said. She gathered her groceries and left. That night, she called an emergency meeting with the other Guardians. She told them about George and what he had said. The group debated for 2 hours. Some thought it was too risky. Others agreed that they needed local support. Finally, Connor broke the deadlock. We are military people and civilians trying to prepare for an alien invasion, he said. We need experts, scientists, engineers, political connections. We cannot build a planetary defense network with 9 people operating in secret. At some point, we have to start recruiting. But who do we trust? Susan asked. How do we know someone will not panic and go public? We start with people who already know something, Maya suggested. Like George. People who have been around the facilities, who have seen things they cannot explain. They have already chosen to keep quiet. We just need to give them the full picture. The group agreed to a careful expansion plan. Each Guardian would identify 1 or 2 people in their area who could be trusted. They would reveal the truth slowly, test reactions, build a small network of support. It was risky but necessary. Maya went back to town the next day and found George. She asked him to come to the cabin that evening. When he arrived, she told him everything. She showed him video of the chamber, explained about the Devourers, introduced him to the other Guardians through the communication system. George took it all in with remarkable calm. I knew it was something big, he said when she finished. But this is bigger than anything I imagined. You are talking about the end of the world if we fail? Yes, Maya said simply. That is exactly what I am talking about. George was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. What do you need from me? Over the next month, the network began to grow. George brought in 3 other people from town who he trusted completely. A mechanic named Pete Collins, a former nurse named Linda Shaw, and a retired professor named Carl White, who had taught physics at a university before moving to the area. Each of them processed the information in their own way, but all of them agreed to help. Pete's mechanical skills proved invaluable for maintaining equipment. Linda's medical knowledge helped Maya understand the biological enhancements the Keeper technology could provide. And Carl's physics background let him grasp concepts that Maya struggled to explain. They became her team, her support system. The other Guardians had similar success. Connor recruited 2 former Marine buddies who were now working private security. Lisa brought in her brother, who was a computer programmer. Slowly but surely the network expanded, each person carefully vetted, each one bringing unique skills and knowledge. But with growth came new risks. More people knowing meant more chances for the secret to leak. Maya found herself constantly worried that someone would talk, that a news report would surface about strange technology or alien threats. So far they had been lucky, but luck only lasted so long. 3 months after activation, Maya stood on the bridge looking down at the glowing patterns beneath the water. They were brighter now, more active. The facility had powered up fully and was manufacturing defensive systems in underground factories. She could feel it humming beneath her feet. A massive operation building weapons and tools that Earth would desperately need. She thought about her grandfather and wondered if he had known. If he had suspected that his stories were more than legends. If he had sensed that Maya would be the one to discover the truth. She wished he was still alive. Wished she could talk to him about all of this. He would have understood better than anyone. The choice to become a Guardian had seemed impossible at the time. Now it felt inevitable. Like every moment of her life had been leading to that chamber under the island. to that cylinder, to the moment when she placed her hand on it and accepted the responsibility of protecting her world. Maya did not know if they would succeed. 50 years seemed like a long time, but it would pass quickly. The devourers were coming. Earth needed to be ready, and she would do everything in her power to make sure humanity survived what was coming next. 6 months passed and Maya barely recognized herself anymore. The training programs pushed her body and mind to limits she did not know existed. The Keeper technology worked in ways that seemed like magic, but was actually highly advanced science. She would enter a simulation and experience weeks of combat training in what felt like hours of real time. Her muscles learned movements she had never practiced. Her reflexes sharpened to inhuman levels. The changes were not just mental. The facility had medical pods that could heal injuries and optimize her body at the cellular level. Maya had always been fit from hiking and outdoor work, but now she was something else. Stronger, faster, more resilient. She could run for hours without getting tired. Her vision had improved to the point where she could read signs a mile away. And when she got cut or bruised, the wounds healed in days instead of weeks. Carl, the retired physics professor, was fascinated by the technology. He spent hours studying the medical pods and the training systems. One evening he pulled Maya aside to show her his findings. "This technology is not just advanced," he explained. "It is revolutionary. The medical pods work at a quantum level, rewriting cellular damage and optimizing biological systems. If we could mass produce these, the implications would be staggering. We could end disease, extend human lifespan by decades, maybe centuries." "The Keepers thought of that," Maya told him. "They warned me against using the technology too widely before we deal with the devourers. If humanity suddenly becomes enhanced and immortal, we might not have the social structures to handle it. Civilization could collapse before the devourers ever arrive." Carl nodded slowly. "That makes sense, unfortunately. We are not ready for that level of change, but after the war, if we survive, maybe then." The Guardian network continued to grow. By month 7, there were 15 active facilities scattered across the globe, 32 Guardians working together, and over 200 support personnel who knew the truth. They had scientists and engineers and military advisors. They had political connections in a dozen countries. The secret was getting harder to keep, but so far they had managed. Connor coordinated the military aspects of the preparation. His facility in Boston had become the unofficial headquarters for defensive planning. He worked with military contacts he trusted to begin positioning assets that would be useful when the time came. Nothing overt, just quiet movements of resources and personnel that would not raise suspicions. Lisa handled the technology integration. She figured out how to merge Keeper systems with Earth's existing infrastructure. She created communication networks that were virtually impossible to hack. She built computer models showing different defensive scenarios and what would be needed to implement them. Her work was brilliant and essential. Maya found herself becoming the diplomatic center of the network. Her calm demeanor and ability to see multiple perspectives made her a natural mediator. When two Guardians disagreed about strategy, she would help them find common ground. When support personnel got overwhelmed by the enormity of what they faced, she would talk them through it. She had become a leader without meaning to. The facility beneath the lake expanded dramatically. The underground factories worked day and night building components for defensive satellites and ground-based weapons. Pete and his mechanical team learned to maintain and operate the alien manufacturing systems. It was like teaching someone to drive a car when they had only ever ridden a horse. Difficult but not impossible. Linda set up a medical program to screen potential recruits. Not everyone could handle the truth. Some people were too unstable. Others were too rigid in their thinking. She developed psychological profiles and screening methods that helped identify people who could be trusted with the secret. Her work prevented several potential disasters. One day, a man named Ryan Brooks arrived at the lake. He was a military captain assigned as the official liaison to Maya's facility. Connor had vouched for him personally. Ryan was 32 with sandy hair and gray eyes that seemed to see right through pretense. Maya met him at the cabin and they talked for hours before she took him down to the chamber. Ryan handled the revelation better than most. He asked intelligent questions. Wanted to see proof. Examined the technology with a critical eye. When he finally accepted that it was all real, he sat down heavily and ran his hands through his hair. "This is insane," he said, "but I have seen the evidence. Read the reports Connor showed me. This is really happening. Yes, Maya confirmed. This is really happening. What do you need from the military? Ryan asked. He was already thinking practically, already trying to figure out how to help. We need resources we cannot obtain privately, Maya told him. Satellite launch capacity. Access to restricted areas where we can install defensive systems. Personnel who can be read into the program without compromising operational security. And eventually we will need official government backing when we have to reveal the truth publicly. Ryan nodded slowly. I can work on those things. It will take time and I will have to be very careful, but I think I can make it happen. Over the next few months, Ryan proved to be invaluable. He had connections throughout the military and knew how to navigate bureaucracy. He arranged for satellite launches disguised as commercial ventures. He secured access to remote installations where Guardian facilities could expand, and he began carefully identifying high-ranking officers who might be receptive to the truth when the time came. He also became Maya's friend. They spent long hours talking about strategy and philosophy and what it meant to protect a world. Ryan had a dry sense of humor that could make her laugh even when she was exhausted and overwhelmed. He understood the weight of what they were doing. The impossible burden of knowing what was coming while pretending everything was normal. One evening, they sat on the cabin porch watching the sunset. Ryan had been at the lake for 2 months and had become a permanent fixture. He looked out at the water and spoke quietly. Do you ever wonder if we are making the right choices? He asked. Keeping this secret, preparing in the shadows. Maybe we should just tell everyone and let the chips fall where they fall. Maya considered the question carefully. I think about it constantly. But every scenario model we run shows that early public disclosure leads to chaos, panic, collapse of social order. We need stability to prepare. We need time to build the defenses. If we tell too soon, we lose both. And if we tell too late, then people die who might have survived if they had known. Maya sighed. There is no good answer, Ryan. Every choice has terrible consequences. We just have to pick the path that gives humanity the best chance. Ryan nodded and they sat in comfortable silence. The relationship between them was evolving into something deeper than friendship. Maya could feel it. She suspected Ryan could too, but neither of them acknowledged it. There was too much at stake. Too much work to do. Personal feelings seemed like a luxury they could not afford. The training continued. Maya pushed herself harder every day. She learned to pilot the defensive craft stored in the underground hangars. She mastered weapon systems that could destroy targets from orbit. She studied the Devourers and their tactics. Everything the Keepers knew about the enemy was downloaded into her memory. It was terrifying. The Devourers were not mindless beasts. They were intelligent, strategic. They had destroyed civilizations far more advanced than Earth. They adapted to defensive measures. They used psychological warfare. They turned populations against each other. They were everything humanity feared about the darkness between the stars. But the Keepers had fought them before. Other species had survived. The key was unity, coordination, refusing to break even when everything seemed lost. Maya studied those successful defenses and tried to understand what made them work. What allowed some species to survive while others perished? By month 10, the Guardian network had 23 active facilities. Over 400 people knew the truth. The defensive infrastructure was taking shape. Satellites were being positioned. Ground installations were being built. The pieces were coming together slowly but steadily. Maya stood in the chamber looking at the status displays. They showed progress in hundreds of categories: weapons production, personnel training, resource allocation, communication networks. It was working. They were actually building a planetary defense system in secret. The scale of it was staggering. We are going to make it, she said to the empty room. The Keeper voice did not respond, but she felt its approval. They had come so far in less than a year. From 9 confused Guardians to a coordinated network preparing an entire world for war. It seemed impossible, but it was happening. Maya thought about her grandfather again. About his stories of the Sky People. He had been keeping the memory alive. Maintaining the connection to something ancient and important. Without those stories, she might not have recognized the symbols on the hatch. Might not have understood what she was seeing. The old ways had saved her life and possibly her world. She climbed back to the surface and found Ryan waiting by the bridge. He smiled when he saw her. That smile made something warm bloom in her chest. Maya pushed the feeling down. Not yet, maybe never. but she could not deny that having Ryan there made everything a little easier to bear. Lieutenant Commander Kate Morris had been tracking anomalous energy signatures for 3 months, and the readings were getting impossible to ignore. As part of the United States Space Force Monitoring Division, she watched for unusual patterns that might indicate foreign technology or unknown threats. What she was seeing now fit neither category. The energy signatures appeared across North America in seemingly random locations. Rural areas mostly, lakes and mountains and deserts where nothing should be generating that kind of power. The readings were subtle enough that most systems would miss them. But Kate had helped design the current monitoring network and she knew what to look for. This was not natural. It was not human. And it was getting stronger. She brought her findings to her commanding officer, Admiral Charles Grant. He looked at her data and frowned. The admiral was old-school military with 30 years of service. He did not jump to conclusions, but he also did not ignore evidence. "What are we looking at, Morris?" he asked. "I do not know, sir," Kate admitted, "but these signatures are consistent with advanced technology, possibly more advanced than anything we have, and they are all on United States soil or Allied territories. If this is foreign activity, we need to know about it." Admiral Grant authorized a full investigation. Kate assembled a small team and began tracking the most prominent signature. It led her to Henderson Lake, to a cabin registered to a woman named Maya Redhorse. Background checks showed Maya had moved there a year ago from New Mexico. No criminal record, no military service, no obvious reason why she would be at the center of unexplained energy readings. Kate decided on a direct approach. She assembled a team with helicopters and boats. They would surround the lake and demand answers. If Maya was involved in something dangerous, they needed to know. If she was innocent, they would apologize and move on. But the energy readings coming from that island were too significant to ignore. Maya was in the underground chamber running system diagnostics when the facility's sensors detected incoming aircraft. She pulled up the security feeds and her stomach dropped. Military helicopters. Armed personnel. They were coming in force and there was no way to hide what was beneath the lake. She triggered an emergency alert. Within seconds, the entire Guardian network knew what was happening. Connor's voice came through her earpiece. "Maya, do not engage. Let me handle this through channels." "There is no time," Maya replied. "They will be here in 5 minutes. I need to deal with this now." "Maya, wait," Connor started to say, but she cut the connection. Ryan was at the cabin and came running when he heard the helicopters. Maya met him at the bridge. They looked at each other and Ryan nodded once. He understood what she was about to do. He did not like it, but he understood. "I am coming with you," he said. "No, stay here. If this goes bad, I need you to maintain the network." Maya touched his arm briefly. "Trust me." She walked to the center of the bridge and stood there as the helicopters circled overhead. Boats approached from multiple directions. Armed soldiers moved into position. Maya kept her hands visible and her posture non-threatening. She had been trained for combat, but fighting the military was not the answer. These were her own people. Protectors of her country. They deserved the truth. Kate Morris was the first to reach the bridge. She approached carefully with her hand on her sidearm, but not drawing it. The woman was in her late 30s with sharp eyes and an air of competence. Maya could respect that. "I am Lieutenant Commander Kate Morris, United States Space Force," she announced. "I need you to explain what is going on here." "That depends," Maya replied calmly. "Can you keep a secret that affects the survival of every person on this planet?" Kate's expression did not change, but Maya saw the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "I need you to come with me for questioning." "I will answer your questions," Maya said. "But not by getting on a helicopter. What I have to show you needs to be seen here. Now. And Commander, you need to understand that what you are investigating is not a threat to the United States. It is a defense against something far worse." Kate considered this. She glanced at her team, then back at Maya. Whatever she saw in Maya's face made her decide to take a risk. "Show me." Maya led Kate across the bridge to the island. Ryan followed at a distance with several armed soldiers keeping him in sight. The hatch was hidden under the bushes just as it had been when Maya first found it. She pulled the branches aside, revealing the titanium surface. "What the hell is that?" Kate breathed. "Technology left here 3,000 years ago by an alien species called the Keepers," Maya said. "They have been preparing Earth for a coming threat. I am one of the Guardians tasked with activating and operating this technology." There are 23 of us across the globe. And Commander, we are running out of time to prepare. Kate looked at the hatch, then at Maya like she was insane. You expect me to believe that? I expect you to look at the evidence, Maya replied. She placed her hand on the hatch and it opened. Come inside. See for yourself, then decide what you believe. Kate hesitated only a moment before nodding to her team to stay above ground. She followed Maya down the stairs into the chamber. When they reached the bottom, Kate stopped and stared. Her training kept her from showing too much emotion, but Maya could see the shock in her eyes. My God, Kate whispered. Maya spent the next 6 hours showing Kate everything. The technology, the training systems, the manufacturing facilities, the sensor data showing the Devourer's approach. She introduced Kate to other Guardians through video link. She showed her the weapons and defensive systems being built. She laid out the entire plan for defending Earth. Kate asked hundreds of questions. She examined equipment. She demanded proof of claims. She was thorough and skeptical, and exactly the kind of person they needed on their side. When Maya finished explaining, Kate sat down on the floor and put her head in her hands. This is real, Kate said. It was not a question. This is actually happening. Yes, Maya confirmed. In 49 years, the Devourers will arrive. We need to be ready. Why did you not tell us sooner? The government. The military. We could have started preparing years ago. Because we did not activate until a year ago, Maya explained. And because every scenario model shows that early public disclosure creates more problems than it solves. We needed time to build the foundation, to create infrastructure, to have something concrete to show when we finally reveal the truth. Kate stood up and paced the chamber. She was processing everything, trying to fit it into her worldview. This is above my pay grade. Way above. I need to bring this to Admiral Grant. Then bring it to him, Maya said. But Commander, please. We need this to stay controlled. A small circle of people who can help us prepare without creating mass panic. Can you do that? Kate looked at her for a long moment. Then she nodded. I will talk to the Admiral privately. He is a good man. He will understand the need for secrecy. But Maya, you need to understand something too. The military has resources you need. If we are going to defend this planet, you cannot do it alone. I know, Maya admitted. That is why I am trusting you with this. We need help, Commander. We need the full backing of our government when the time is right. But it has to be done carefully. Kate left with her team, but not before making Maya promise to meet with Admiral Grant within the week. Ryan waited until they were gone before pulling Maya into a tight hug. She let herself lean against him for just a moment. That was terrifying, she said against his chest. That was brave, Ryan corrected. You did the right thing. The meeting with Admiral Grant happened 3 days later at an undisclosed military base. Maya brought Connor and Ryan with her for support. The Admiral was a big man with gray hair and a face that looked like it was carved from granite. He listened without interruption as Maya explained everything again. When she finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. Commander Morris showed me the data. I have seen the satellite feeds of your facilities. I sent engineers to examine the energy signatures. Everything checks out. I do not want to believe this, but I do not see any other explanation that fits the facts. So you will help us? Maya asked. Yes, Admiral Grant said. But this needs to go higher. The President needs to know. The Joint Chiefs need to know. We will need international cooperation. This cannot stay secret forever. We know, Connor said. We have a timeline. We plan to make a controlled disclosure to world governments within 3 years. That gives us time to have something concrete to show them. Proof that we are making progress. But we need your support to get there. Admiral Grant nodded slowly. You will have it. But I want oversight. I want regular reports. And if I think you are losing control of this situation, I am pulling the plug and going public immediately. Fair enough, Maya agreed. They shook hands, and Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They had military support now. Real resources. The preparation could accelerate. They still had a long way to go, but this was a major step forward. As they left the base, Ryan took Maya's hand. She did not pull away. Something had shifted between them during the confrontation with Kate Morris. The walls they had both maintained were crumbling. They were in this together, all the way to the end, whatever that looked like. We are really doing this, Ryan said. Yes, Maya replied. We really are. 3 years passed in a blur of activity that transformed Maya's life completely. The quiet cabin by the lake became a command center for operations spanning the entire planet. What started as 23 Guardian facilities grew to 41, as more people with the right genetic markers stumbled upon hidden installations. The network of support personnel expanded from hundreds to thousands. Scientists and engineers and military specialists all working together toward a single goal. With Admiral Grant's support, resources began flowing in ways Maya could never have managed alone. Satellite launches increased dramatically under various cover stories. Deep space monitoring stations went online disguised as astronomical research projects. Manufacturing facilities expanded underground at every Guardian site, building the components needed for planetary defense. The scale of the operation was staggering, but it was working. Maya's facility beneath Henderson Lake became one of the primary hubs. The underground complex grew to 10 times its original size. Factories ran constantly producing advanced materials. Training centers taught new recruits how to operate alien technology. Medical facilities used keeper science to heal injuries and enhance human capabilities. It was a city hidden beneath a forgotten lake, and only a select few knew it existed. Ryan had officially transferred to Maya's facility and had become her second in command. Their relationship had evolved beyond professional, though they tried to keep it private. Late nights working together turned into quiet moments on the cabin porch. Strategy discussions turned into conversations about hopes and fears. They fell in love slowly and carefully, knowing that the future was uncertain, but choosing to find joy in the present anyway. One evening, Ryan found Maya staring at the star maps in the command center. The Devourers were 33 years away now. Getting closer with every passing day, Maya tracked their progress obsessively. She studied every scrap of information the Keepers had about them. She ran simulations endlessly, trying to find strategies that would work. "You need to rest," Ryan said gently. He put his hands on her shoulders and felt the tension there. "You cannot save the world if you burn out." "I will rest when we are ready," Maya replied. But she leaned back against him. Let his warmth and presence ground her. "How are the Atlantic installations coming?" "Good. We have 6 platforms operational. Another 4 should be online by next month." Ryan pulled up a different display showing their defensive network. "The orbital ring is 60% complete. Ground-based systems are at 75%. "We are ahead of schedule, actually." Maya nodded but did not feel relief. Being ahead of schedule meant nothing if they were not good enough. The Devourers had destroyed civilizations far more prepared than Earth. She needed their defenses to be perfect. One mistake could mean extinction. Connor called in from Boston with updates on military coordination. With government backing secured, they had been able to read in key personnel across multiple countries. The United States, Canada, Britain, Japan, Australia, Germany, France, India, all had representatives in the know working quietly to prepare their nations. It was still secret from the general public, but the circle of knowledge had grown significantly. "We need to start thinking about disclosure," Connor said during their weekly strategy meeting. 3 years was the timeline we agreed on. We are there. People are starting to ask questions. Reporters are investigating the unusual activity. We cannot keep the lid on much longer. "I know," Maya admitted, "but disclosure needs to be coordinated. We tell world leaders first. Give them time to process. Then we make a joint announcement. If individual countries start leaking information before we are ready, it will cause chaos." Lisa Wong joined the conversation from Singapore. "I have been working on a communication strategy. We need to control the narrative. Show people what we have built. Give them hope instead of just fear. If we announce that aliens are coming to kill everyone, people will panic. But if we announce that we have been preparing a defense and show them the technology, people might rally." "The technology is the proof," Kate Morris added. She had become a key member of their leadership team after bringing Admiral Grant into the fold. "We show them ships. We show them weapons. We demonstrate capabilities that cannot be explained any other way. That makes it real." They spent hours debating the best approach. Finally, they agreed on a plan. In 6 months, they would brief the President of the United States along with leaders from allied nations. They would show them the evidence. Let them see the facilities. Give them time to verify everything. Then 3 months after that, they would make a global announcement. 9 months total to get ahead of the story. It was risky. A lot could go wrong. But the alternative was worse. If they waited too long and information leaked in an uncontrolled way, The resulting panic could destroy the social order they were trying to protect. Maya returned to her cabin exhausted from the meeting. Ryan had dinner waiting, which was a simple thing, but it made her smile. She had never expected to find this kind of partnership in the middle of preparing for an alien invasion. But here it was, real and solid and more important than she wanted to admit. "Marry me," Ryan said suddenly as they ate. Maya nearly dropped her fork. "What? Marry me? I know the timing is terrible. I know we are preparing for a war that might kill us both. But I love you, Maya. I want whatever time we have left to be together officially, not just as colleagues or even partners, as husband and wife." Maya felt tears sting her eyes. She had not cried in years, but this broke through her defenses. "Yes, God, yes, I will marry you." They married quietly a month later. Just a few close friends and guardian colleagues. No big ceremony. No publicity. Just two people making a commitment in the shadow of an approaching apocalypse. It was perfect. The network continued to grow and evolve. New guardian facilities activated. Support personnel expanded. Technology improved as they learned to manufacture better versions of Keeper designs. The factories produced weapons and ships and defensive systems at an accelerating rate. Earth was building an army in secret and doing it successfully. Then everything changed again. The message came through channels that officially did not exist. Deep space sensors picking up a transmission on frequencies only the Keeper technology could detect. The signal was not from the Devourers. It was from someone else entirely. Maya was in the command center when the alert sounded. She pulled up the data and her heart started racing. This was first contact. Not with the Keepers who were long gone, not with the Devourers who were still decades away. This was contact with another active spacefaring civilization. The message decoded automatically. The translation matrix built into the Keeper systems recognized the language and converted it to English. Maya read it 3 times before she trusted her eyes. "People of Earth, we are the Alliance of Free Worlds. We have been monitoring your planet since your Guardian network activated. The Keepers found you. This is good. We are here to help you survive what comes next." Maya immediately called an emergency meeting. Every Guardian, every military liaison, everyone in leadership positions. They needed to decide how to respond, and they needed to do it quickly. The Alliance was waiting for an answer. Connor spoke first. "This could be a trick. The Devourers might be testing us, seeing if we will reveal ourselves. Or it could be genuine," Lisa countered. "The Keepers said there were other species who survived. Maybe the Alliance is them." Kate pulled up the transmission data. The signal came from beyond our solar system. It would have taken years to reach us. "This is not a trick. Someone out there has been watching for a long time." Admiral Grant made the decision. We respond, cautiously, but we respond. If there are allies out there, we need them. We cannot afford to face the Devourers alone. Maya composed the reply herself, simple and direct. "This is Guardian Maya Redhorse speaking for Earth. We received your message. We are preparing for the Devourers. We would welcome contact with the Alliance." She sent the message and then they waited. 3 days later, a ship entered Earth's orbit. Not a small probe or scout. A massive vessel the size of a city that made every satellite and space station humanity had launched look like toys. The ship did not approach aggressively. It simply held position above the equator and waited. Kate coordinated with Space Force to ensure no one did anything stupid like launching weapons at the alien ship. Maya prepared a delegation to make contact. They would use one of the Guardian ships to fly up and meet whoever was aboard that vessel. The delegation included Maya, Connor, Lisa, Ryan, and Kate. 5 people representing humanity at first contact with an alien civilization. As they approached the massive ship in their Keeper-designed craft, Maya felt her grandfather's presence. He had told her the Sky People would return. He had been right. The Alliance ship opened a bay door and guided them inside. When they stepped out of their craft, they found themselves facing representatives from 15 different species. Some were humanoid. Others were so alien that Maya struggled to process what she was seeing. But all of them were friendly, welcoming, relieved. A tall being with blue skin and 4 arms stepped forward. "Welcome, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Kalen of the Dorian people. We are honored to meet you." Maya shook his hand, or one of his hands. She was not sure which. "We are honored as well." The revelation of the Alliance changed everything. World leaders could no longer deny what was coming. The massive ship in orbit was impossible to hide from civilian satellites and amateur astronomers. Within days, the secret began to leak. News reports speculated wildly about alien contact. Social media exploded with theories and panic. The controlled disclosure Maya had planned became an emergency response to contain global hysteria. The President of the United States addressed the nation, first followed quickly by other world leaders. They confirmed alien contact. They explained about the alliance and the coming threat. They showed footage of Guardian facilities and the defensive systems being built. Most importantly, they emphasized that humanity was prepared, that they had been working on this for years, that there was hope. The reaction was mixed. Some people panicked anyway. Stock markets crashed. Riots broke out in several major cities. Religious leaders debated what alien contact meant for their faiths. But others rallied. Volunteers flooded military recruitment centers. Scientists offered their expertise. Engineers wanted to help build defenses. Humanity was scared, but they were also angry. The idea that some alien force thought they could just wipe out Earth sparked a defiant rage. Maya watched it all unfold from the command center at Henderson Lake. She gave interviews trying to calm fears and inspire confidence. She showed reporters the technology, let them see the ships and weapons humanity had built. The narrative began to shift. Yes, the devourers were coming, but Earth was not going to roll over and die. The next 17 years were a blur of preparation on a scale that dwarfed anything humanity had attempted before. The Alliance helped train Earth's forces. Guardian facilities expanded into open military bases. Manufacturing went into overdrive. The space economy exploded as orbital construction became a priority. Millions of people worked on the defensive effort in various capacities. Maya turned 43 and then 46. The years showed on her face in lines around her eyes, but the Keeper medical technology kept her healthy and strong. Ryan aged alongside her. They built a life together even as they prepared for war. It was strange and beautiful and terrifying all at once. Connor coordinated the military forces. He had become a general in all but name. His strategic mind shaped Earth's defensive doctrine. He trained commanders from every nation. He ran simulation after simulation until everyone knew their roles perfectly. If humanity was going to survive, it would be because Connor prepared them. Lisa built the command and control systems. Every ship, every weapon, every sensor. They all linked together through networks she designed. She created artificial intelligence assistants that could process battlefield data faster than any human. She made sure that when the fighting started, Earth's forces would act as one coordinated whole. Kate commanded the orbital defense platforms. She had risen to admiral and controlled the space navy humanity had built. Hundreds of ships, thousands of weapons, all waiting for the day when the devourers arrived. She was ready. Her forces were ready. The Guardians themselves numbered 47 now. Every facility had activated. Every person with the genetic markers had found their way to the hidden installations. They were the heart of the defense. The coordinators, the ones who understood the Keeper technology best. Maya took pride in what they had built together. When the devourers finally arrived, Maya was 46 years old. The sensors picked them up 3 days out from Earth. The enemy fleet was massive. Hundreds of biomechanical ships that looked like they had been grown rather than built. They moved through space with a grace that was beautiful and horrible. Each ship pulsed with a sickly green light. The final preparations began. Every military force on Earth went to full alert. The orbital platforms charged their weapons. The Guardian facilities armed their most powerful systems. Civilians evacuated to underground shelters built specifically for this moment. The Alliance ships in orbit moved into support positions. This was it. The moment they had spent 2 decades preparing for Maya stood on the bridge of the Defender. It was humanity's first true warship, a massive vessel built using Keeper technology and enhanced by Alliance knowledge. She commanded it with Ryan at her side as tactical officer. Connor coordinated overall strategy from Earth. Kate commanded the orbital fleet. Lisa managed all systems and communications. The team was ready. The Devourers entered weapons range and the battle began. Green beams lanced out from their ships. Energy weapons that could cut through armor like it was paper. But Earth's shields held. The Keeper technology proved its worth. Human ships returned fire with weapons that tore chunks out of the enemy vessels. The Alliance had taught them well. The space around Earth became a war zone. Explosions lit up the darkness. Ships on both sides were destroyed. The Devourers were as terrible as the Keepers had warned. They adapted to human tactics quickly. They used psychological warfare, broadcasting images meant to instill fear. They tried to hack into Earth's networks, but humanity had prepared for all of it. Maya commanded the Defender through the chaos. She targeted enemy capital ships and coordinated strikes with other vessels. Ryan called out threats and opportunities with perfect calm. They worked together like they had been doing this for years. In a way, they had. Every simulation had prepared them for this moment. On the second day, the Devourers changed tactics. They started targeting population centers from extreme range, trying to force Earth's fleet to break formation to protect civilians. But Connor had anticipated this. The ground-based defenses activated. Massive energy weapons rose from Guardian facilities across the planet. They reached into space and destroyed incoming fire. The Devourers could not get through. By the third day, Earth's forces had destroyed a third of the enemy fleet. But the cost was high. Dozens of human ships were lost. Thousands of people died. The orbital platforms took damage. Some cities suffered hits that killed hundreds despite the defenses. Maya felt every loss like a knife to her heart. These were her people dying, her world bleeding. On the fourth day, the Alliance fleet engaged fully. They had held back initially, letting Earth prove itself, but now they joined the fight with everything they had. Alien warships tore into the Devourer fleet from unexpected angles. New weapons lit up the battlefield. The tide turned decisively. The fifth day saw the Devourers begin to retreat. They had not expected this level of resistance. Earth was supposed to fall quickly like so many worlds before, but humanity had the Keeper's gift. They had the Alliance's support. Most importantly, they had the will to fight for their home. The enemy fleet scattered, trying to escape. Maya coordinated the pursuit with grim determination. They could not let the Devourers regroup and return. This needed to end here and now. The Defender and a dozen other ships hunted down the fleeing enemy. One by one, they destroyed the biomechanical vessels until only a few remained. On the sixth day, the last major Devourer ship was cornered near the sun. Maya led the final assault personally. The Defender and 5 other vessels attacked from all sides. The enemy fought desperately, but it was over. One final coordinated strike, and the Devourer ship was pushed into the sun's gravity well. It fell screaming into the star and burned away. The battle was over. Earth had survived. Humanity had proven itself. The cost had been terrible, but they had won. Maya stood on the bridge, exhausted and covered in sweat. Ryan pulled her into a hug and she let herself shake against him. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had protected their world. The celebrations were bittersweet. Yes, they had won, but thousands had died. Cities had taken damage. The economic cost was staggering. But humanity had survived. That was what mattered. They had faced the thing that destroyed civilizations, and they had stood firm. The Alliance welcomed Earth officially as members. No longer a protected species, but equals. Partners in defending the galaxy. Ambassador Kalen told Maya that humanity's defense had been one of the most successful in Alliance history. That Earth's tactics would be studied and shared with other species. That they had given hope to the galaxy. Maya eventually retired from active military service, though she remained a guardian. She and Ryan returned to the cabin at Henderson Lake. The facility beneath the island still operated, but she was no longer needed to run it. Others had been trained. A new generation was ready to take over. She stood on the bridge one evening, watching the sunset. The same bridge she had crossed so many years ago when she first arrived here, lost and broken. She was different now, stronger, more scarred, but also more whole. She had found purpose, had found love, had helped save her world. Ryan joined her on the bridge and took her hand. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "My grandfather," Maya replied. "He told me the Sky People would return when we needed them most. He was right. The Keepers left us what we needed. The Alliance came when we called, and humanity rose to meet the challenge. We did it together," Ryan said. "That is what made the difference." Maya nodded. The war was over, but the story of humanity among the stars was just beginning. Earth had proven itself. Now they would take their place in the galaxy not as victims or children, but as equals. The quiet lake had been her refuge once. Now it was her home. A reminder of where she started and how far she had come. Above them, stars blazed in the night sky.